hearing a lot of my kid right now yelling.
How are they doing?
Pretty good, but it's crazy. House full of toddlers and babies and teenagers, diapers, tampons, and Quaaludes. Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Face the Truth. This is awesome. As you know, last week I didn't have an episode. There was no podcast. It was supposed to be the hilarious comedian from New Jersey, Jessica Curson, but she bumped me for Alec Baldwin's wife. True story. I guess that Zoom call was a lot more interesting and beneficial for her. But hopefully it works out and we get to talk again soon. I look forward to it. I do know that a lot of you out there have submitted drawings, fan art that you did of Jessica in hopes of her seeing them. And so I'm going to wait a couple days to see if we can reschedule. If not, I'll share your drawings online and tag her in the post so that she feels really, really bad. But yeah, nothing against her. In all seriousness, she's very busy and she's hilarious. I have a lot of respect for her. She's an amazing comic. But so we didn't have a podcast last week. Boo-hoo. Whatever. It's fine. Okay. But this week we're having two podcasts. Okay. So it's going to be bam, bam. So I'm going to introduce my guests in just a second. But later this week, I am talking with the one and only Steve Byrne, who is just an amazing, awesome comic who I owe a lot to, who's got me into doing stand-up. Very supportive and inspiring. Also the director of the new film. What's that film called? Oh, yeah, The Opening Act. And I got to paint the poster for the movie. I'm so excited about that. We're going to talk about that and just a lot of the behind the scenes of the movie and everything. So I can't wait to show you the artwork. I worked for about 3 weeks on that. 17 people on the movie poster. It's pretty. Basically, everybody in the movie is on the poster, I think. Anyways, that's coming up soon. So that's going to be a really great talk. I look forward to talking with Steve. And this week, we get the pleasure of talking with someone who, I don't get to hang out with him as much as I would like to, but I consider him a good buddy. We went to art school together. He's one of the most talented artists I know. He was the winner of Face Off. He's an amazing just painter, sculptor, illustrator. He's known for his special effects. And recently he was working on, he worked on the show Fargo and Lovecraft Country, or Country Lovecraft. I don't know which order that is. But just amazing work. And so I called him up and said, hey man, you want to do the podcast? Let's talk about all the cool stuff you've been doing. So without further ado, please welcome the one and only Anthony Kosar. Awesome. Thank you for joining me. I know it's last minute, but I figured, you know what? I really wanted to get another podcast in because I felt bad in doing last week. And I haven't talked with you for quite a while. And you've been just kicking ass with so many amazing projects. Yeah. And dude, you're spoiling episodes for me. Like I'm watching Fargo. I love the show. And then I look on your Instagram and I see whatever that character's name with the bullet graze. I'm like, oh no, something's going to happen to him. You know, I love that guy. No, it's okay.
I posted it like right after, or not right after, the day after the show aired, and then it's like, yeah. Maybe I should give it a few days to let everybody.
Yeah, I'm like, oh no, it was kind of funny because I'm like, oh, I know something's gonna happen now. But dude, you've been killing it, and again, thanks for joining me for this. We were talking just before we started that you were my 5th guest on this podcast. And it was so cool. You actually came to my apartment and we did it here in person. It was a lot of fun. And now you're 105. So it's been exactly 100 episodes since you were here. And so thanks for coming on again, man. This is so cool.
Thanks for having me back. Glad to be back.
Yeah. So how have you been, man? It's been a while since we've gotten to catch up.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been pretty crazy. Projects have been great. Then COVID happened.
Yeah.
But we're getting through it and got some things lined up. So we're pretty excited.
That's good. And I think when you were here, I think it was 2 years ago when we did our first podcast together, which is crazy to think about. And I think at that time you told me about the Lovecraft Show.
Yeah.
That you were so excited. I don't know if you started working on it yet. at that point?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, that summer we had worked on it.
Okay.
We spent about a month on that project. We just did the pilot episode. After the pilot shot here in Chicago, and then when it went to series, it ended up going to Georgia. So unfortunately, Chicago lost the project, but we were really excited to have worked on that and make some really, really fun gags. It was the first time that I got to do anything that was kind of multi-departmental type of a job. A lot of times, we're just working with, from before that, like on Chicago PD and Empire, we're just doing like the trauma makeups and the beat up faces. But on this one, we got to work with concept designers. The steps were done by Jared Morantz, who's extremely talented. And then working with the CGI guys, the visual effects, getting a chance to do some green screen work, working with the special effects department to, hook up to our blood rig and pump blood through the piece, and working with costumes to like get the piece, expose the piece and like how it would be torn open. And it was just a lot of fun. So, working with the stunts, and it was just cool. So it was kind of like one of the first really, really big jobs that we've had. And then that kind of led its way to this past year, which was probably one of my most successful years so far. We worked on from Candman and did the new Jordan Peele Candman, directed by Nia DaCosta. And did that all last summer, the summer before COVID. And that was really, really intense. I can't say too much about that because they keep pushing the dates. It was supposed to be out this past June, but that's a movie that's meant to be in the theater, so they're trying to. So now at this moment, it's going to be released in August 2021. So now I got to wait almost a whole more year. But then went right from that project 2 days later, like didn't even get a chance to sleep or relax. 2 days later, going right into Fargo, and then 6 months. But then we stopped production 2 weeks before finishing the last two episodes because of COVID, and then finally went back to shoot during COVID in end of August into September, and wrapped up the season, and now it's finally airing. So it's really exciting to finally get to see some of our work.
That's so awesome, man. I want to come back to Fargo, but I got to go back. I want to talk about the Lovecraft Show, because so I had seen the artwork that you shared with the green screen thing with the guy's mouth, like just like you can tell like, oh, that's someone's gonna get their face ripped off or something. I didn't get what the show was. I just, it was like something on Instagram that I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, it was one of his awesome projects he's working on, whatever. And then I happened to be watching the show. I just started and I heard some good things about it. And then I remember faintly thinking, I wonder if this is the show that Anthony was talking about, because I saw that it was produced by J.J. Abrams and all this. I'm like, wait a minute, I think this might be it. And then I'm watching the whole first episode, and I have no idea what the show's about or what it's going to be or anything. The beginning's really trippy with that kind of like dream sequence. I'm like, this is interesting show. And as it's going along, towards the end when they're in the cabin and all of a sudden it turns into a sci-fi / horror movie, I was like just taken back by it. I'm like, what's happening? This is awesome. Because I was not expecting it to go that direction. And then I saw what happened to those guys' faces. I'm like, oh, dude, that's Anthony right there, man. So it was pretty cool to put the two together. And I totally see what you mean by the combining the digital type work with special effects, the green screen. But it had such a natural feel to it. But it was that classic like horror movie. Yeah. It was that must have been just a blast to be able to do that stuff, man. Me and my crew have been working a long time, and we've been really wanting to get into like a horror film. Like that's what we got into this for, dark fantasy, horror, sci-fi and stuff. And that's the beautiful thing about Lovecraft Country is it kind of combines all those things with a lot of historical elements. And it's a great show.
Yeah. It was awesome. I'm sad I didn't get a chance to work on the rest of the series.
Yeah.
But, if I did that, I wouldn't have been able to do Candyman. So it all kind of worked out anyway. But yeah, it was really, really cool. So like, we got to spend 2 weeks in the woods on overnight shoots, and like the way the woods were lit and it was smoke coming through there, and the actors and all this blood that we were working with, and dressing all the actors with blood every day, which is really interesting. Blood continuity, like every drip has to be in the same spot. But yeah, like, working with my my crew and Anna, who's my key on the projects, we're so stoked because we're sitting there in the middle of the night in the woods, lit up, and we're finally on a horror film. So it was cool.
That's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you, dude. And I mean, it's just like the ultimate just sandbox experience, like just what else can we play with? Like it just seems like, I mean, for someone like you, this is like just, I mean, it's probably better than sex. You know what I'm saying? You're like, wait a minute. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I used to think better than sex cake was amazing before I ever had sex. My mom, for my birthday, she used to always make me this cake, and they called it better than sex cake. I don't know where that came from, but it's my favorite cake, and she would make it for my birthday every year. But it's not better than sex. So anyways, I found that out like when I was like in my late 20s. No, just kidding. So let's skip ahead now back to the Fargo thing, because the first thing I want to ask you, besides, I want to get into this because I love the Fargo series. I think every series is awesome. How they just have completely new story, new characters. I'm a huge fan of the original movie, and it's just there's such a like quality to the project where it feels, I mean, bigger than a movie. It's so great and grand, the scale of it. But real quick, I want to get this out of the way. Did you get to meet Chris Rock and hang out with Chris Rock at all? Oh, dude, come on. Let me have it. I wanna be jealous.
Well, I'm actually jealous of my crew because all the days that were really heavy with Chris Rock there were the days that I was either on a different unit or following a bigger gag. So, he's a very, very nice guy, and he's always on. So like, he's always on. He's, during the breaks and between takes and between scenes when, all the actors are sitting around, in their director's chairs and their actors' chairs. And a lot of times, as the makeup artist, the makeup and hair and special effects makeup, we usually sit very close to the actors because we're usually having to run in and touch them up. So it's a lot easier to do that. And yeah, he was always on, always, going over material. And
anthonykosar. That's so cool, man. I'm just like, when I found out that you were working on it, that's all I could think about at first was he got to meet Chris Rock. Like, I just love Chris Rock. So that's so cool, man. And such a great role for him too, man. He's like,
yeah,
there's something interesting about this season of Fargo because I gotta admit, like, I'm a huge fan of Chris Rock's comedy. And he's just become like a director and a producer, and he's been in a lot of movies as an actor. But this role where he's like this badass gangster leader it's like in the 20s, I think, right? Is when it takes place, like the Prohibition era, or
yeah, the first episode kind of takes you from 1900 to to 1930, and then where it lands and where the whole season is 1950.
Oh, that's right. Okay. That's right, because he gets a little older, he's got the nice silvers in there. But what's interesting about his character is that even though he's a badass and he's kind of serious, there's like this weird like undertone of humor in the way, like when he yells at his wife in the last episode, I think, to get him his fucking coffee, was so funny because she's all pissed at him because her son was attacked and the whole gang was arrested by cops and all this crazy stuff. And then he's like, he basically explains to her, like, you like that blanket? You like this and that? And he's like, he's just explaining to him, like I do this all for you, and I'll get me some coffee. But the whole way he delivered it was so like Chris Rock, but it still fits like this badass mobster guy, but it's just interesting seeing Chris Rock that way. I don't know. There's something, because it's not funny, but I don't know. There's something about the way that he does it. I just love it so much. It makes you feel uncomfortable. Like
the good thing about that I've always liked about Fargo and why the series, you know, from season 1 so brilliant, is they take like really good actors, but they also take actors who are in a way more characters, you know, and they take these obscure actors. So like, or they'll take like big actors and throw them into a completely different role, like Chris Rock, and it's really a testament between, you know, Noah Hawley, who's the show creator and showrunner, and then, you know, the executive producers and the you know, the casting, that they are, you know, that they see certain things within the writing, within the characters, to bring people that you wouldn't ever expect. And, you know, the fun thing about this season is, you know, most of those actors in the Italian gang are, you know, straight from Italy. So a lot of those guys were working with, you know, and it was just so much fun working with them, because then there was a whole different aspect to it. So
they literally got actors from Italy for that. So that's so like the guy that you did the bullet thing, is he really Italian? Like,
yeah, he's a big time Italian actor.
Oh, okay.
There's a show that he's on. I think it's an Italian show called, but it's called Gomorrah. And he's like so huge over there, like, you know, 1 million followers on Instagram and everything else. Like he's big time.
Dude, his eyes, like he looks like just like he's ready to kill anybody at all times. It's so good. I love him.
Yeah, he's even more fun like off camera. Like we got to spend a lot of time with him because of, you know, he
seems hilarious.
Yeah, he's
I also like the guy that they cast. I'm blank. Jason. Why am I blanking on his name? Schwartzman. Yeah. He's another odd person to cast as the Italian mobster, like the guy that's leading the family, because he's kind of a dork, and you don't see him as this badass, but that kind of gives it this edginess where you're like, I don't know, dude. There's something not right there. Like it makes you feel a little nervous, and like
I love that, because it kind of breaks the mold a little bit, because every mafia movie, you know, the father dies and the son takes it over, like in, you know, The Godfather and stuff. But it's like, it's, you know, some badass, you know. But then here comes, you know, the really tiny character Josto, and he's kind of like spunky. He's always thinking. He's funny, and he was a guy that was always on. Like him off camera was so much fun too. I mean, I have to say that was probably one of the most fun experiences that we had as special effects makeup artists, because spending 6 months with a crew and working so heavily with the main talent, you know, on shows like Chicago PD, we're usually beating up and killing the, you know, glorified extras, you know, the people who are there for one episode. You know, nothing ever really happens to you know, the main actors or whatever. And if it does, it's just like a little tiny bruise that's gone by the next episode, because, you know, they all have to look pretty. But what's awesome about this show is like all the main actors, all the characters, like we've done a lot of really subtle makeup. Some things you might not even have noticed in the episodes, little tiny bruising that you know, that last several episodes that you might not see too much. You can see in the last couple episodes on Jack Houston. You know, the one guy in the first episode, he was the Irishman, put a big scar across his face. Oh,
yeah.
Omi, he has a white contact lens in one of his eye, and then ever since they got robbed, he has a bunch of pellet wounds on the bottom of the jaw. It's kind of hard to see, but it's all there. The guy that got burnt in the cheek, Calamita,
the barrel,
you know, put an O. It's just really cool, because like makeups like that, you know, it might not be as noticeable, but we healed that prosthetic. So every time you see it, whatever day it is in the script, you know, we had to do continuity, and we're jumping back.
Oh, wow, you're talking about that like so. Dude, that's amazing.
See, if you look closely, you're seeing it heal. You're seeing it scab.
That's some serious nerd shit. I love that. Wow, man.
So the concepts that I did for it.
Now, can I ask a question real quick? Was that like an actual artistic direction from, the director of the series, or was that something that you guys were like, hey, we should do this as this goes on?
It's kind of like everybody, because like even like there's for continuity and things like that, everything has to line up. We want it to be, certain things over exaggerated, but at the same time we want it to be realistic. So yeah, we were working very closely with the script supervisor and the producers and writers to know exactly like, okay, well, when this happened on script day 11, and now it's script day 12, or now it's script day 15, but script day 15 isn't exactly 4 days from day 11. It's a week and a half later. So what's that going to look like then? So that's what we were, which got really confusing for a while, but because we don't shoot anything in order. So we have to have a continuity book so we know exactly what look we're doing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Seen it is like some days we had to advance it and then, de-advance it. Like, so.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. So can you tell me some of the process, like on this particular series, like when you first got picked up for the, you and your crew to work on this, was this all done in Chicago, by the way?
All of it, yeah.
Okay. And but what's the first step in this? Like, do they already have concept artists that have done all these things for you guys for this particular thing, or do you start with the script on this, or how does that work?
Yeah. So read the script. I make my makeup effects notes, which are separate from hair and makeup, and whether it's something with aging, something with some kind of wound or trauma, some kind of a character element. And that's, like I was saying, it's so much fun to add these things to the characters now, become part of the character like that. So, make my notes, then have a makeup effects meeting with the episode director, the AD, all the producers and writers. And we go through literally from the beginning of the episode, or beginning of the script to the end of the script. I say all my notes, their notes, they tell me what they want to see. Sometimes they pull me back a little bit. Sometimes they, want me to go further. On one episode, we did I haven't posted it yet, a bloated body that came out of a drawer in the morgue. And initially they wanted it to be like just a dead silicone body, but with the cost of that and the time to produce that, it's just easier to get an extra to lay on the thing. So we got somebody who had the right body type. We did this crazy prosthetic, and then we spent like 4 hours getting him in makeup, painting him, adding all this texture to his body and stuff like that for that scene. And so when I was sending initial reference of what bloated drowned victims look like, they didn't want it to be, for instance, they didn't want it to be like a moment where the people watching turned off the episode because it was too much. Because if you ever seen it, their eyes are like literally bulging out of their skull. Their lips are like super swollen. Their tongue is like almost looks like they've got a grapefruit in their mouth, and it almost looks like strangely fake, the real stuff.
Yeah, I've actually talked with I talked with Mike Marino about some of the similar stuff, and we were talking about the same thing, and he was telling me that, like, have you ever seen like a real decaying dead body? They look fake.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look real, and I just think it's interesting because, like, when you're working on something like this, how far do you go for, like, TV viewers? But if you only actually go as what would be considered realistic, maybe that's not even enough.
Right.
Because it's not what's in people's minds, like.
That's a fun thing about it, and where the creative license comes into being a special effects makeup artist, is that, like, we're not just creating exactly what happens in nature, because, like he said, a lot of times it doesn't even look real. It looks fake. So we do what you perceive to be real, That's what we did, like with that bloated body, is we made it, try to make it shocking because they wanted it shocking. But if we went as far as having like the bulging eyes and the tongue that's like swollen, people would have been like, what is that?
Yeah, yeah.
So things like that. One of the first things that they brought me on, which was the most fun. You haven't really seen him. You've seen him a little bit, little hints of him throughout the series. Is a character called the Snowman. I don't know if you caught him at all. He's like in the shadows. He's kind of like lurking behind things.
Yeah.
Kind of this supernatural element, and
I didn't know he was called the Snowman. I don't know if I've caught that yet. I think I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember the name.
Yeah, they so far haven't like referenced his name there, but if you look like they have some articles or whatever they call him, so it's online already as the Snowman, but he's cool. If you get a good look at him, which they haven't really gotten too much, it's been pretty obscure so far, but that has been a fun one, designing him from, did all these concept sketches, and he's missing a nose and the eyes are stitched up, so that was a fun one. That one,
that's awesome.
We did his makeup so many times, and it's so funny because like watching it, like he's we know where to look for him, but like he's there, but you have to know where you're looking. And that one would take that was about a 3-hour makeup, I think, and it took me and 2 other artists, and everything from his fingers to his face. He has about 15 prosthetics on.
Jeez. So, like, how long were these days, like, on set?
Man, generally they would shoot for like a good 14 hours. But as the makeup effects, we're usually there before anybody else. If we have a big makeup, so sometimes we're getting there 4 hours before crew call. So we're getting there sometimes at 3 a.m, and then and then if that character shoots all day, then everybody wraps, and then we have the fun hour of cleanup and removal. So a lot of times special effects makeup is one of the first to get there and one of the last to leave.
Jeez, that's intense, man. But that's right up your alley, man. Ever since I've known you, it's like I don't think you sleep, and you always like you're a hard worker, dude. Man, I don't know if you had a chance, but the last podcast I did with Kevin Nealon, he was talking to me about how when he had Jeff, not Jeff Bridges, Daniels, I think Jeff Daniels. Yeah, it was Jeff Daniels was on SNL. He was the guest, and they went to put make a mask, and I don't remember what you call that, whatever, what it is. But they didn't do it correctly. They didn't put the Vaseline or anything down. And they were trying to make a prosthetic of his face so that they were going to make him look like Jay Leno for some skit. And what ended up happening was when they went to peel it off, they couldn't get it off. And he said that they ended up having to like clip all his eyelashes out. And hold on, I don't hear you anymore.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. I thought I'm like, wow, are you like a mime? Like, what's going on?
A crazy expression because.
Okay, that's hilarious. I'm like, wait a minute, did I lose my sound? But they basically they said that they had to pull out all his eyelashes, and they had to like clip his eyebrows, like shave them off, and they had to call in some plastic surgeons to come in to help get it off of his face, and it was like a painful process that took like hours. And they were saying that so scary because they literally couldn't get it off, and if he would have like threw up or something, he probably could have choked to death or something. Like, it was like pretty intense. And then the guy does Saturday Night Live the next night. Like, he still does it. Like, he's like,
when was this? When was it?
I mean, it was when Kevin was on SNL, so I mean, I think it was probably the 90s.
Okay.
Sometime in the 90s. And
I don't know who they had then, but the artists that they've had the last number of, I don't even know how many years, but Louis Zakarian and his crew are top notch. So
yeah. I think it was just like a horrific accident, and like I don't know, but you should listen to it because the way Kevin talks about it, it's hilarious because Kevin actually, the same thing happened to him, and it also happened to be making him look like Jay Leno, so it's like some weird Jay Leno curse because Yeah, because he started feeling claustrophobic it got so bad for Kevin that he couldn't handle going underneath tunnels in New York or flying in airplanes. Like he started getting like this terrible anxiety because of how bad that experience was.
We've only had in all the year, and I've been doing this since 2002, and 2005 is when I think I live casted my first person besides myself. But in all the years, and sometimes, when we're on a project, we're doing at least 1 or 2 live casts a week. We've only had 3 people who, were nervous or couldn't really handle it. Some of them we were able to salvage. Some of them we had to do in different processes. One guy, there's new techniques now, and we're starting to get into it at our studio, which is 3D scanning. So one guy, we had to do the prosthetics really quick, so we couldn't actually like print out the life cast, but we scan his face when we weren't able to take a life cast, and he ended up not being comfortable with it. But what's great about it is my digital artist put the 3D model on the computer and put a 6-inch line on view, and then I printed it out to scale from my computer, and then my library of life casts from all the years of doing them big that I was able to find somebody who was almost the same facial structure and stuff like that, and then with those printouts and having that 6-inch line there, I was able to use that kind of as like a key to like measure different aspects, so the makeup still fit him perfectly.
Wow, that's incredible.
I won't say who that is, but but it was that was probably the only time we had to really, really go to those extremes. All the other ones we were able to at least get far enough into life casting process where it's like they start a little bit, we take it off, and we get it down to between depending a full head takes us usually about 40 minutes total. It feels longer when you're under there. It goes by really fast for us, but we start at the back of the head and work our way forward. So by the time that they're actually fully under it, they're probably in it for a good 25 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I can see how it could be a little creepy, but I've
heard horror stories where people, I see stuff online all the time where they're sticking straws up noses. They're having them lay down. They're not putting the Vaseline on or any kind of remover. They're using the wrong product. There's a lot of horror stories out there. That's why, like, for me, I wish that special effects makeup actually came with a license. Like, I know patients have licenses for people's hair, but like, I wish that we had something a little bit more, just to protect people, because, we do it safe, but I can't test for everybody.
Yeah. Kevin said that part of the problem too is that Jeff had like some scruff too. So it was like all sticking to it, and it just had to like cut it all. Brutal, man. And he literally did SNL the next night, and he had no eyebrows. They had to draw his eyebrows on.
Well, they do have better products now. They have the silicone that we use as their first layer has a material in it that releases from hair, so you don't even have to put any release on it. I test everything on myself before I do anything to anybody else, so that I know what they're going to go through. And, even with a full beard and everything.
Good thing you're not a tattoo artist, man. You'd be covered with terrible tattoos.
Yeah, exactly. I am a bit of a wolf man, so so I tested that product on myself without any release, and then I put release on certain parts, and it came out off just fine. And then from that point on, we're like, okay, good. We're, I feel comfortable. We don't have to completely shave somebody, but and that only helps the process, and it still pulls a little bit, but at least they'll walk away with their hair.
Yeah, and their face. So hey, going back to that barrel burn on that guy's face. Now, for something like that, what do you do for reference? Do you like take pig skin and like like burn it in there for some good. I mean, I'm just wondering, like, how do you, like, something like that? Like, imagine what that might look like. But I'm wondering if you actually, because I mean, let's put it this way. I know you know this. You're an illustrator as well. There's a lot of times where I've Googled things for reference. You know, one time I was doing some zombie pieces for something, and I Googled decaying bodies, and holy crap, things came up that
you'd be surprised.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering if, like, do you like Google barrel burn mark, or, I mean, I'm just.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, you're never going to find anything that's 100%, you know, as specific as that. Like that's
why I was wondering. Yeah.
You know, but like knowing what burns look like, knowing how burns heal, and then, you know, doing the research for like, you know, on forensic sites and trauma sites, you can find things, and just typing in Google, you can find like what burns look like as they heal, or what, like, how scabs look as they. So, you know, it's kind of like a marrying of all that things, and you know, that's one of the tame things. I mean, I'm sure the FBI has got me tapped with some of the things I have to look up. The worst that, like, and I have a pretty strong stomach. I don't, like, you know, I don't really get sick from looking at anything like this, but the one thing that on Chicago PD, we had to do a machete victim, and they had to get like all these hack marks all over their body. And looking up machete victims, that was, I mean, I've looked up people with skinned faces, decapitated heads, all kinds of, you know, burns, horrible things, which is all horrible because it's what people are doing to other people. But the worst thing about the machete victims is that they're all sitting there and they're like alive and conscious with these like huge. It was awful. It was the worst thing. I got like sick to my stomach immediately. It was just so.
Ugh. Yeah.
Sorry to bring it up.
No. It's, dude, I totally understand. Like, I got this almost the exact same reaction. I watched I believe it was Ken Burns' Vietnam documentary. I think that's the documentary I'm thinking of, where oh man. Oh, whatever. I think it is that where there's one scene where it shows this poor little girl that she looks like she's like 6 or 7 years old, and she's completely naked because her clothing were burned off of her body in an explosion. And she is walking down this road, and it's real. This is like real footage, just charred. And she's not even crying. She's just like in shock. And I was like, I have to take a break. Like, I couldn't, and it's very famous. In fact, I believe there's a photo of her that ended up being on the cover of Time magazine from that very thing that happened. But it's like, yeah, it's like, I'm the same way, man. Like I love all this kind of like special effects stuff. And I love, like, I can appreciate, like, when I see a movie or something like what you're working on, be like, damn, that, like, Anthony killed it. But like, there is that aspect of it where it's like, dude, this stuff really happens. Like, you know, that part of it can be disturbing. I mean, it's one thing to be able to be creative and to come up with something that's super believable, but yeah, I've been down that rabbit hole before, Googling things for things I had to paint, and you're just like, okay, I feel a little disturbed right now.
I'm a monster guy, you know, creatures, a monster character, like what I really, really love doing. But you know, the trauma and stuff is all part of it, and you know, but yeah, it's you almost have to, you know, kind of remove yourself from that when you're looking that stuff up, because like that is the worst part of it is it's not like, you know, find a burn, you got a little burn or a scab, that's one thing, whatever. But some of the trauma that you have to do with all this crime stuff and slasher stuff is like, the worst part of it is knowing that somebody did that to somebody else. And like once that thought gets in your mind, like that's when my stomach turns. And it's like, okay. Yeah.
By the way, speaking of, did I send you the pictures of my wife's hand when she got burned really bad?
No.
I don't know if I sent it to you or not. I'll send it to you. I'll send a couple pictures. Dude, just before the COVID thing happened. Oh no, it was right after, because we were told we couldn't even go to the doctors because it was so everything was shut down. But she had to go because she was like 8 months pregnant, and she was making breakfast and she spilled all this bacon grease on her hand. And it looks like it immediately. Well, no, this is the weird part. So at first it was just red. It just looked really, really red, and she was in so much pain. And I remember at first I was kind of like, oh, it looks okay, you know. It just looks really, really red. And she's like, it hurts so bad. It's killing me. And it was like all over like 3 of her fingers. And then my sister-in-law is a nurse practitioner. She goes, you should take your rings off immediately, because that could start to swell. So she did. She took the rings off, and within like an hour or two, there was these giant like blisters like that big, like just her whole fingers were like these big pus-filled nasty. It looked like, let's just put it this way, I never could eat butterscotch candy ever again. It was just disgusting. And the worst part was just how much, you know, she was in so much pain. It looked terrible. Like I thought she was going to be deformed forever. She went in and they had to cut it all and then scrape it all down and all that stuff. And then I'll send you those pictures too, because there's going to be great reference for you. It looks like, no, dude, you're not even going to believe it. I will send it. You're going to freak out, but it will be a good reference. When they cut it and scraped it down, her fingers, it looked like Freddy Krueger. Like totally. Yeah, it was pretty gnarly, dude. And she had to put this stuff on it for a few weeks. But you can't even tell now. It healed that well. Like, it's pretty amazing how well it I mean, I thought for sure that her hand was going to be pretty messed up looking. I mean, it looked bad, dude. It looked like a zombie hand.
Wow.
You could see like this, like you could see the muscle, and yeah, it's pretty bad, dude. And I just felt bad too, because she was, like I said, she was like 8 months pregnant, and all this stuff was going on, and everyone's already stressed out, and then this happens, and yeah. So anyways, happy birthday. It's actually Anthony's birthday today. It's so awesome. And it's so cool, man, because like I met you when you were 18 years old, and it's been almost 18 years since we've known each other.
You know, it's so crazy to even like think that, you know, it's like I'll be, you know, scrolling through, you know, my phone or whatever, and they're like, you know, this Iron Maiden album is 20 years old today. And I'm like, wait a minute. I bought that album when it was new.
Yeah.
I was like, I was a junior in high school. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, holy shit, it's been 20 years since then. Like,
yeah,
it's scary. But no, I mean, I know we told the story before, but I just remember like being there, like coming into the school, and you know everybody's there, and you know kind of like sizing up the competition and stuff in a very healthy way, and just see what everybody's all about. And it's the first time getting to be at a place where everybody's like got this like mind, and it was really cool. But I remember standing there waiting in line to get my student ID, and there's, you know, babyface Jason Seiler, you know, two people in front of me showing his portfolio, and I'm like looking like over the dude's shoulder that I'm behind, looking at this thing, and I'm like, holy shit, like man, this guy's good. I'm gonna have some crazy competition in this school. And, you know, but that's what I'm there for, right? And you know, to learn and get better. But I'm like, holy shit. And then I found out that you weren't 18. I'm like, okay. Whew.
Yeah. No, I think I was 26. Yeah, I had a baby, my first baby. She was 1 at the time. Now she's 17.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah, she's a junior in high school, and she just started working at Starbucks, and it's like, this is crazy, dude. Yeah, time is a son of a bitch. It really is. But you know what? What can you do? Nothing. So
no,
there's nothing worse than the people that just, they're like, oh, getting old sucks, or I can't stand that. I can't stand it. It's like, dude, you can't do anything about it. Just live your life to the fullest all the time, and just keep making goals and go for them. And just like, it's like, I know too many people that have just given up. I can't do that. I can't. I don't know. I think that's, you know, I can see why people get depressed about things like that. But I mean, I think us as artists is, I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of depressed artists. I was just gonna say, I think it can be helpful because, we make goals. I mean, at least I do. I always try to have goals for myself and try to push myself. Like the last couple of years, I started doing stand up. Like that's a really scary thing to just all of a sudden start to do at my age and everything. But I love it, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna push myself because it's something that I love, and also I enjoy the challenge of it, and I enjoy the artistic creativeness and the being able to use that different creative side of myself, like my voice in this. There's nothing like it.
Oh, when
it's
this
the same.
COVID thing's over, I want to know when you got a show. I want to come see it.
Well, I'm actually supposedly opening up for Steve Byrne at the Chicago Improv in
really?
December. Yeah.
That's awesome.
We're going to talk about it this week when I have him on. But he invited me to do 3 nights with him. So I've got about 5 to 7 minutes of material ready, just kind of honing it. But the Chicago Improv is actually in Schaumburg. I don't know if you knew where that was. It's attached to the Woodfield Mall.
Okay.
But it's a really cool club. It was the first place I ever did stand up, and it was really scary, and it was because of Steve. And he asked me to do it again, so I'm really excited. I can't believe that he asked me to do it again. So I'm really pumped, and I feel like my material is so much better. I was going out 3-4 nights a week before all this COVID crap happened, and really started working on my ideas and my material, and then this happened. I had a show on St. Patty's that I was really excited to do stand up with a bunch of different comics. I knew it was going to be packed, and then they shut everything down, and I was like, oh no, that's it. And so I haven't done it since March, and I don't think there's not going to be any mics or anything open. So I think I'm going to be going in cold turkey, opening for Steve Byrne. But I mean, I feel good about my material, and I just have to practice it and go out there and just be real, just do it, But anyways, my point is I don't think it's ever too late, for us as artists, and like time can be one of those things where it is crazy, man.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, I've got 4 daughters, and 2 teenagers and 2 under the age of 3, and life has its curveballs and it has its ups and downs, but you just gotta keep going, man.
The beautiful thing about it though is like, every aspect to our lives is what kind of feeds into our artwork, and
yeah,
and everybody has their different outlet or different way of creating or whatever. But it's interesting because right after graduating and getting a few illustration jobs, I met this gallery owner and publisher, and he liked my portfolio. He went through it, and it was very everything I rendered as best as I could, and whatever, try to get it a little moody and with my style and everything. But one of the things that he told me is like, your stuff's really good, but you need more tragedy in your life. And I was like, tragedy, man, fuck you. Like, that's what a terrible thing to wish on somebody. Like 20 years, well, almost 18 years later, or whatever it is, no, 12 years later, it's almost like I get it. After going through things and experiencing life, the positive things and negative things, I get it. And like, I haven't done an illustration since like 2009. I concept design. I make character studies and designs and stuff, but not like actually, the act of physically sitting down and painting. And it's one of the things I've been, dying to get back to. And,
yeah.
But like now, with all the experiences I've had, with a little bit of what he, told me, it's almost like I just be curious to see what I would do and how I would handle it now, and bringing in all the experiences from effects, because everything's like relative and everything. But it's just an interesting thing. But I do think that, like, your experiences, positive and the negative ones, all go into your artwork, whether it's, your paintings and your illustrations or your stand up and things like that. And it's life that like you have to embrace. Like, it's the whole, it's the human condition that like, everybody has their individual paths and journeys. And like, if you can put that into your work, I think that just makes your work more individual. And
yeah. And you can, and like the more like, I mean, for me, my work, a lot of my work is the illustration work is I'm doing something for somebody else. I don't really get, just like you, I don't really have much time to paint for myself the way I would like to. But still, like the more that you can just be yourself and be honest, like even with stand up, I think one reason why I like that is because like I just talk about myself, like what I know, what I've experienced.
Right.
What like funny things that I've experienced, but it's all true. It's all real. It's not, you know what I mean? It's all, I think that's the best kind of comedy is like when it's, because people can relate to that. Like, oh, that's unfortunate that you shit your pants at the movie theaters. Like there's things that happen, and if you can be honest about it, it's funny, right? And I think life in general, it's like we're all on a train that you can't stop this train. It's moving. And it's going to move until you go night-night one day. It's just, and this is how I talk to my kids, by the way. One day you're going to go night-night, and it's going to be really sad for everybody. But it's okay because we all go night-night. No, but you're on this train of life, and like you have to decide, like it's not stopping. So, like it's what I think about, and I think about the fact that like, dude, like we met that long ago. And it's been, for me, it's just always exciting to, we're both very busy. We don't get to hang out very often, but every once in a while we do. And it always feels like no time has passed.
All right. Well, that's the whole thing is like, I mean, developing that bond in art school and then following your career over the years and, watching you, get cover after cover and then Time Person of the Year and collecting these things. I've got a few of your stuff on my bookshelf behind me. And I think I got a couple things I need you to autograph, but, but I think that's the fun thing. And like, I mean, thank God for things like, texting and things like, because like, it's always fun to get a message from you or, random thought and stuff like that. And it's just cool. And hopefully, like, I know we always say like, we need to grab a beer soon. And, this, this world that we're in at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of crazy, but
eventually we will.
Eventually we will.
Speaking of, before we get going here, how have you been with all the, I mean, you've been doing great with your work, and I can't wait to see what you do next. I don't know if you can talk about anything that you have coming up or whatever, but I mean, how have you been with all this craziness going on? Like, how you handling all of this?
It's been a pretty intense year and a half for me, both project wise and personal wise. Some family tragedies over the past year, but which I won't get into. But it's been a hard it's been a hard time, and it's like grateful to have like the projects like Candman and Fargo, which like keep you driving forward and stuff like that. And some other things that have come up, different opportunities and whatnot. COVID kind of sucked because it kind of like, pulled the brakes on the whole industry for a while, and it's like slowly getting started again. But I've just used this time to like get back into things. I've done a lot of like organization and things that I've put off for years, and I've been doing a lot of writing actually. So, getting back to ideas I've had for 15 years now and haven't touched them in like 10. So like, I guess that was been the nice thing about COVID. I mean, not that there's much nice things about that, but like the break that it's allowed me to have, it's like you said, the life and certain careers are a train, and there's like no jumping off of it. And having a studio and having employees, having to keep people employed, but has been just a part of a driving force to also get the next project. But this time has been kind of nice to just sit back and chill and catch up on sleep and write my thoughts down and get back in place. Like I thought that would have painted during this time. I sure had enough time to do it, but I feel I've done other things that I needed to creatively do for myself, and it's been very rewarding. And hopefully one day when those are far enough along, talk about some of those ideas. But at the same time, we've also been working a lot, getting the studio souped up. We've, I had a school location, which was a block away from my studio, where we were teaching classes and things like that on weekends. And then shortly after doing Lovecraft Country, we decided not to go through with the school because we were just so busy with projects, and the school would hinder the ability to do that, because sometimes we're working 7 days a week at the studio, and so how can we
so you're not so the location where you were having your gallery shows and everything, you don't have that space anymore?
No, that is there.
Oh, is that the
that's the main studio. We had a school about a block away, and then last number of years that's been basically just an overflow for a project. So we do like the foam running and the latex casting and a lot of stuff over there. So it worked out where we were able to get out of that space, and then take over the space next door to my original studio. So during this COVID time, we've also been getting that transition in order. We kind of knocked it through a couple walls to kind of expand, and now the studio can actually spread out as opposed to like being in two separate locations, even though they're a block away, which was always a pain in the butt, because it's like, oh shit, like we need to get a hammer. I thought we had a hammer here, got to go back and get it.
Yeah.
It's like, we got a lot of exercise walking back and forth, but this is nice because now everything is like right next door. So we kind of like, the other place was bigger, but not as big as what this is together. Just it allows me to do things and spread out, because during Candman and Fargo, things got so intense, like we couldn't even walk in the studio. Like we were producing so much product, and we were working on so many individual projects for that one film, that like tables were everywhere, workspace were everywhere, things were stacking up, materials were stacking up, prosthetics were stacking up, life casts were stacking up, and it's like we're just running out of space for like everything. So this now allows us to like have spaces designated for certain things, and will help the workflow. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm getting it ready for hopefully when the industry comes back in full swing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, dude, I want to thank you again so much for taking the time to just chat with me for an hour here today. It's really good to see you and to catch up, and happy birthday, man. This is awesome. I don't know if you're going to go out and do some birthday dancing anywhere, but again, thank you so much for just sharing some of the stuff, the behind the scenes of the shows you've been working on. It's so awesome, man. And I'm so proud of you, man. And I can't wait to see what you continue to do. It's awesome, man. It's like, how weird is it? I think about that all the time, because I know so many artists and friends of mine who I just see them doing all these cool things. But like, how random is it that, I think about like, because you and I are basically, we've been in touch ever since we went to school, and I didn't, I've maybe said here and there, but you and I have like always stayed in touch. And it's just, I always get a kick out of looking back and just from the Face Off thing until, and all these different projects I've been watching you do, and just seeing this, just watching this life that you've been living and the different things and experiences. So it's just always so encouraging and pretty cool to see, man. Like, I mean, I always feel like a proud big brother or something like that. I'm like, yeah, dude, you did it. That's awesome. So,
likewise, man. Like I said, I was, my girlfriend, she lives in Palm Springs, so going back and forth with this long distance has been crazy. But I remember sitting at the airport right when your Mad magazine cover came out, and I ended up going to the book stand and picking up a couple of that's one of the things I needed you to sign. But
oh, cool.
But I got a couple of those copies just because I'm always excited to see what you come out with next, and
that's awesome.
Killing it.
Well, thanks again. And hey, before we go here, where can people find you? Just let them know so they can follow you on Instagram and all that crap.
Yes, on social media, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm mostly on Instagram. Facebook I haven't really been as up on, but you can follow me on all the platforms, and it's at KosartEffects, so KOSARTEFFECTS. And then my website is kosart.com.
Awesome. So make sure you follow that, okay, everybody? And thank you, everybody, so much for listening. And we'll see you later this week with Steve Byrne. And we'll catch you all on the flippity flop.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
For sure, man.
You want answers?